Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Environmental Protection on the one and only Snooze channel. You're here with me, Stephen Gott, and Mr. Fish. This week's episode is all about marine counter-pollution, pollution response agencies and clean-up operations. And as we do every week, we'll be linking the previous to a recent event. This week, the MS River Dance, which as you may know ran aground on the beach of Cleveleys in Lancashire on the early hours of the 31st of January 2008. We begin today's episode with the UK's response to marine incidents. So, if you think of the UK's response in three separate stages: prevention, long-term response, and immediate response. What is meant by prevention? Obviously, the best way to respond to pollution is to stop it from happening in the first place. How do we do this? Well, to begin, there's a more effective regulation of shipping in relation to marine conservation laws. The Maritime Coast Guard Agency is able to maintain 24-hour preparedness for response through Her Majesty's Coast Guard Agency. This is ultimately the first port of call in a marine emergency. As we know, the Coast Guard coordinate the response, but whom else would they include? Who would they include? Maybe the police service? That is correct, Mr. Fish. Also, the Royal National Lifeboat Institute, search and rescue teams, and in some instances, the military. There are three levels of immediate response: local, regional, and national. These are mediated by an officer who works for the Counter-Pollution Response Branch. MS Riverdance was deemed a national response level due to the fact it required a salvage operation, and on Monday the 5th of May 2008 became the first ship ever to be completely demolished on a UK beach. The final stage is salvage and clean-up. At this point in the incident response, it is hoped that the threat of pollution will be known and easily dealt with, and all agencies will be looking into removing the source of pollution and cleaning up pollution that has already occurred. The National Contingency Plan hosts 4 distinct areas of operational activity: search and rescue, salvage, clean-up at sea, and clean-up of the shoreline. Response agencies that are involved in marine response and clean-up include Harbour Authorities, District Councils, County Councils, Maritime Coast Guard Agency, the HM Coast Guard, Department for the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, English Nature Environment Agency, Police, Health Protection Unit, Food Standards Agency, RSPCA, RSPB. Harbour Authorities plan for and respond to small and medium size of oil pollution. District Councils are local management, and they coordinate clean-up operations. They're a waste collection authority. They clean up the shoreline using their own and other available resources. The liaison and cooperation with other appropriate organisations. County councils. They make the request to the MCA to establish a shoreline response centre. The main roles are to establish the response centre, coordinate the clean-up operation at the response centre, and organise waste disposal authority. Maritime Coast Guard Agency, the Coast Guard Agency. They produce the National Contingency Plan. They coordinate with the government's response to pollution at sea. They maintain stockpiles of oil spill clean-up and preventative equipment such as turbidity barriers, debris booms, spill containment and assortment booms. They provide training for local authorities. They issue warnings of marine pollution via the Coast Guard. They assist and advise on management of shoreline cleanup. They provide scientific and technical advice, as well as guidance to local authorities and other organisations. DEFRA, or the Department for the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. They operate under the Food and Environment Protection Act 1985. They test the toxicity and licence dispersants. They advise and control the use of dispersants and give permission to use dispersants. The Environment Group will be established to provide advice and guidance on all environmental, public health and animal welfare aspects of a pollution incident to the responding agencies. This includes the assessment of the environmental risks and potential impacts arising from a specific incident, as well as the implications of any clean-up or salvage operations. The composition of the Environmental Group depends on the nature and location of the incident. The core membership will include representatives of the following: the English Nature, Environment Agency, Maritime and Coast Guard Agency, or any other agency we've discussed above. To summarise, the Riverdance was grounded in the early hours of January the 31st due to high winds that caused the ship to fall into a 30-degree list. Some say this was also caused by unstable cargo. This, after grounding, was taken by the sea. The cargo consisted of peat crow bags and McVitie's chocolate biscuits. 23 crew members had to be rescued in total. They were rescued shortly after the captain called Mayday, and an RAF Valley helicopter arrived. The pilot and winchman both received the Defence Helicopter Search and Rescue Award shortly after the main event. A later report showed that the ship followed all relevant legislation and safety features, although it did find that the shipyard's sea truck ferries could have secured cargo more suitably. Many attempts to refloat the ship were staged, and even timed around the February half-term to coincide with the work holidays. An estimated 100,000 people visited the unfortunate seaside attraction during the time the ship was there. All attempts to refloat the ship failed, and it was the SOSREP's decision to dismantle the ship on the beach. This process commenced the week beginning the 29th of April 2008, with an estimated completion date of the end of June. By early May, the work was underway, with the removal of handrails and the funnel to enable easier access to the interior of the ship. The initial phase of the demolition was expected to take 4 or 5 weeks. On the 17th of May 2008, a fire broke out on 2 of the lorries at around 4:20 AM, causing 30 workers to be evacuated from the vessel. The local fire brigade attended with 5 appliances and a mobile fire station, but withdrew shortly after due to the rising tide, leaving the fire to burn itself out. The work in connection with the scrapping of Riverdance resumed on the 19th of May 2008, with the wreck reduced down to the level of the beach by the 10th of October. It was later discovered that the Riverdance caused conceivable damage to the sewage pipes that ran underneath where it was grounded. The work to repair this damage was completed early in the year 2010. Anyway, that's the end of the show this week. On behalf of myself and Mr. Fish, we'd like to thank you. And stay classy. Cornwall? They give advice on response agencies that are involved in marine response. Blah, 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 blah. I can't seem to say marine. I always want to say maritime. I'm so dizzy.